I'm talking on mute, classic. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Data Plus Women. I will start, and I can see that there are people that are still joining. For those that are still joining, welcome also. I hope that you find the link and everything correctly. And today, it's a very special day. Today is International Women's Day. We have here amazing lineup of speakers that I would like for Nisa to introduce to you. But I really would like to thank everyone, speakers, participants, everyone that made some time this evening. I guess that for some of us, morning for Wendy, that is quite early in the US. But big thanks for everyone that made time for the event. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Rachel. I'm one of the co-organizers of Data Plus Women. And for those of you that don't know Data Plus Women, we are an international network of women working in data. We are present in different countries in the world. So in some places, you see that we have events in person. I'm based in the Netherlands. Here in the Netherlands, for instance, we restarted to do events in person. And in other areas, we do it virtually. And since COVID, at some point, we decided to create a kind of a cross-country initiative that is always virtual. So there was one that we are following today. We always do virtual events. And the idea is to bring together people from different parts of the globe, from different countries, with the main thing in common. They're all women, all doing amazing work in different parts, and all working, of course, in data. And those are the other organizers. We have here with us today, Nisa, also. Annabelle is not here today because she went on holidays to a sunny place. Before starting, we were complaining about the weather. I don't know for everyone that is following, so the attendees, how the weather is. But as I said, I'm in the Netherlands. The weather here is miserable. Nisa is in the UK. She was sharing the same feeling that the weather here is also, there is also miserable. Then Wendy arrived and said that in Seattle there is sun. So we're all planning to go to Seattle today because we are all missing the sun and we're kind of a bit tired of this thing of snow, gray, rain, and this type of stuff. But I hope that it will be a sunny event despite of the weather for almost all of us. And just before going to agenda speakers, a bit of a housekeeping for everyone. So first of all, big thanks to everyone that joined. Second thing, feel free to use the chat. We'll keep it open to say hi to other people, to talk during the event. And you can also, you see that there is a Q&A. So if you look in the bottom of your screen, you should see a Q&A button. The Q&A you can use to send questions to the speakers. So chat for informal things, Q&A for the questions, because then it's easier for us to understand and to find it while people, to filter the questions while the speakers are talking. And with this, I will pass to Nisa that will talk a little bit about the agenda and the speakers. Nisa, with you.
Thank you, Rachel. So today our event is a slightly different format if you normally join the Data Plus Women Global. So it will consist in two parts. On the first portion of the event, our guests will share their experiences and knowledge through a small presentation. And then on the second part, they will join us again on a panel, and that will allow the audience to ask some questions, even ourselves to ask some questions, and have a chat around how to navigate change and uncertainty, embracing it, maybe turning it into new opportunities, who knows, right? But it is my pleasure to introduce our inspiring guests. And today we are starting with Wendy. So Wendy Turner-Williams is the former Tableau CDO and a Carnegie Mellon University adjunct professor. She is known for her expertise in cross-functional team alignment, digital transformation strategies, and data management capabilities. Welcome, Wendy. Thank you so much for accepting our invitation. And the floor is all yours when you are ready. Thank you.
Thank you very much for the introduction. I appreciate it. It's so nice to meet everyone. As mentioned, the last several years I've been the CDO, Chief Data Officer for Tableau, which meant that I had a unique position as the chief data person within the #1 BI and analytics company in the world, and that I not only did the job as Chief Data Officer, but I was their customer zero because, frankly, my job is to manage companies and ensure everyone has data for decision making across the company and inspire the kind of data culture for the company. So, me using the product actually led to a lot of product vision and features that eventually will trickle down to everyone else to help the product to scale for our end-to-end data uses in a better way. In addition, I would spend a lot of time basically talking to peers, people like you, right? My job is your job. So, talking all things data platform, regardless of, stack, just like everyone else, I live in a hybrid world when it comes to data. So I'm crossing clouds, I'm using third party, I'm customizing components because there's no products that exist to solve my end-to-end needs on certain areas. So I would spend a lot of time basically with CIO, CTO, CDO peers around the world, including standing up a lot of data circles, CDO circles around the world to basically learn from each other. Network, learn, how are you moving from on-prem to cloud? What's been successful for you? How are you saving operational cost or, normalizing data or improving data discovery when it comes to something like Snowflake? How are you actually handling, operational needs versus innovation needs, et cetera? So all things you can think of when it comes to the data world, used to having very conversations and happy to share experience.
Thank you so much, Wendy. So we will kind of wait for the questions because we have the panel portion. So I'm not asking anything. We have a big list. Maybe we'll keep you here all night. No, I'm joking. But we have some questions for you. Our second guest is not yet here. She is having some issues connecting to our event. So our second guest now will be Bethany Lyons. So Bethany is the Chief Product Officer at Cover Analytics, and this is like fresh news. This is less than an hour. She just would like to live on the edge with Bethany. But one thing that she didn't change is she is passionate about solving complex problems through data and analytics and expanding our tool sets to expand our thinking. So welcome, Bethany, and the floor is all yours when you're ready.
Thank you so much. So I I guess, yeah, I'll start with a bit of my background. I was at Tableau for 9 years. I started out as I think I was the youngest person to join EMEA at the time in the product consulting team. So I helped grow the EMEA business for about 6 years, working with customers here, partners, building out our channel network of partners. And then I moved into product management. And some of the things that are very close to my heart that I helped bring to life were Tableau set actions, relationships, and what is due to drop soon, which is the shared dimensions feature that lets you combine multi-fact data models. And then I worked very closely with the team on LOD calcs as well. So I spent my time at Tableau being very passionate and motivated to bring the most powerful computing capabilities to the Tableau community. So after Tableau, I left a year ago in January, and I moved on to a company called Muse. So one of the things that really fascinated me about the Salesforce acquisition was the fact that a cloud CRM company spent 16 billion on an analytics company. And I thought, gee, you know, if Salesforce needs to buy an analytics company, like surely other companies like that need this kind of capability as well. And so Muse is basically an ERP plus a CRM for the hospitality industry. And so there I led their analytics department. And it didn't go well for me at all, because in fact, what they needed was a BI tool built from scratch to support their like hundreds of thousands of users. And that turns out to be really hard to build on a shoestring budget in a hotel tech company. So it was really interesting to me as a kind of market research to learn about what is the customer need for analytics at that scale. And so I ventured out onto my own for a period of time thinking, you know, maybe I'll build this product. It just doesn't exist in the market today, an analytics solution for like SaaS companies. And I was on a soul searching journey, shall we say, for a few months. And then the CEO of Kawa Analytics reached out to me and was like, hey, you're posting a lot of stuff that resonates. Like, do you want to join our company? And at first I was like, you're building a BI company. Why are you doing that? This already exists. There are thousands of them. No, I'm not interested. And he's like, well, let me show you the product. And then he showed me the product and I was like, wow, this is a revolution. This is a genuine innovation that's going to democratize data and bring data literacy to millions of people around the world. Yes, I want to be part of this. And so I've joined and just dropped the news today that I've joined Kawa as their chief product officer, and very happy to give you a demo if there's time for it on this webinar.
Yeah, of course, we have time for it. If you want to go for it, go on.
Yeah, should I give you a demo?
Yeah, go on. Why not?
All right, let's do
Show
it.
us, it's news, right? We have kind of the first opportunity to see it working.
The first opportunity to see it. All right, so let me just hide the thumbnails here. Now, I really hope this is going to go well, because this is our development version, and I think 100 changes have been pushed in the last hour. So hopefully it's stable. Fingers crossed, we're going to make it through the demo. Okay, so we're looking at sample superstore data. I think everybody's familiar with this. What I want to demo to you is no code LOD calcs. So the question is, what is the percent of customers that made a repeat technology purchase? What is the percent of customers that made a repeat technology purchase by state? So this is a calculation that requires 3 different levels of detail. There's orders for who made a repeat order. There's customers for who made 2 repeat orders. And then there's state for calculating the average percent. So how we do this here, let me go over to the beginning of the data set. So I'm going to go create a linked view on the customer ID. And what that does is it duplicates my data source, and it's now showing me all of the line items by Claire Goot. And as I changed customers, it's showing the relevant rows for that customer. So the thing I want to do is find the orders that have technology products. So let's go and apply a filter here on the category. So we'll filter to technology, and this is giving the one line item that was in the technology category for this specific customer. If I click on Brosina, you can see that this person had 7 product purchases within the technology category. But if we look at the unique count of order IDs, it was on 6 orders. So this is the number of orders with technology purchases for that customer. And I want to bring this up into my main data table here. So I'm going to just simply go and move this to the main view. And now you can see it's replicating that number across all of the rows for that customer. So this is a no-code LOD calculation here. And it's completely transparent how it's computing. So if I click on Irene, you can see it's got 2 order IDs. These are the 2 order IDs, and we can see indeed that they correspond to technology. So next thing I want to do is find the customers that have more than 2 of these orders. That's the set of customers with a repeat purchase. Then I want to add all of those up and then divide that by the total number of customers and then group by state, and that's going to give us our answer. So let's go ahead and create a formula here. So I'm going to do a count unique if. So count the customers where the number of orders made by the customer for technology products is greater or equal to 2. And then let's divide that by the total number of customers. This gives us now our percent of customers with repeat technology orders. If I can spell, and then we'll go ahead and create that. So that's now added this column that's either 1s or 0s the whole way down. But it gets a lot more interesting if you group the data. So we'll go ahead and group it by state. And that's grouped the entire grid. Now we can see our percent of customers with repeat technology purchases by state. So let's go ahead and put this in a chart. And I'll give it a quick sort here. And we see right away now that there's 4 states where 100% of customers made repeat technology orders. Now, why this is so amazing is because it is a 10x improvement on what you need to do today to do this type of calculation. So if I jump over into Tableau, let me show you what this looks like with LOD calcs. So first thing I want to do is find the line items from like the technology category. So we'll do an if statement and check if the category is equal to technology. Then we'll count the line item if it is and not count it otherwise. So just to show what's actually happening to the underlying data here, we'll make this a dimension and throw it on color. So it's giving 1s to the technology line items and 0s otherwise. So far, simple enough. But we want to know which orders have technology line items. So we need to take this value and copy it across all of the rows for the order. And so that's where the LOD calc comes into play. So what we want to do is fix to the order ID the maximum of this value here. Because if the maximum is 0, it means there's no technology item within that order. And if it's 1, then it means that there is. So this is now orders with technology. Technology. And then we'll hit OK. And let me show you what happens here. We'll check this guy up here. Oops. Sorry, this thing is, if I delete that, there we go. So move this up here and then put orders with technology on color. And then you will see now it's giving us that constant value for the entire partition of the order. So next thing we want to do is count how many orders there are per customer with technology. So we need to sum up this last calculation we just made by customer. So we'll fix to customer ID the sum of orders with technology. And so this now gives us the number of orders with technology per customer. So if we want to see what is this thing doing, let's visualize it and then bring in customer ID for context. And so you can see what this calc is doing is finding, what is it doing? Hold on, line item. It's, yeah, so let's take a look at this customer. They have 3 orders that have technology. So it's giving a value of 3 for that entire partition. This one has 2 orders that have technology. So it's giving a value of 2 for that entire partition. And so then the last thing we want to do is find actually, this isn't the last thing. The next intermediate thing we want to do is find the ones where there's more than 2. So that gives you the repeat purchase. So if the number of orders with technology per customer is greater or equal to 2, then count the customer, otherwise don't. So this is customers with repeat tech orders. And then we'll check this up here. So it's either a 1 or a 0 per customer, right? This one, it only has 1, so it turns out to be 0. And the things that are greater than 2 give a 1. And so then we can sum up this value and divide it by the total count of, actually, let me just drag it in from the viz. We can sum up this and then divide it by the count distinct of customer IDs. And this gives you the percent of customers with repeat technology orders. And if we go ahead and visualize this now by state, throw this on text. Now let's compare the numbers here. So actually, let me just put this in a text table so we can see side by side. So you'll see we've got 100% in Maine, North Dakota, Vermont, West Virginia, Maine, North Dakota, Vermont, West Virginia. We've got 91% in Idaho, 91% in Idaho, 88% in New Hampshire, 88% in New Hampshire. And you'll notice that, the whole way down, the numbers are matching. In Kawa, we were able to do this with no code LOD calcs and a single simple pass aggregation. In Tableau, it takes 2 nested LODs and a whole bunch of complex viz configuration to understand what the LOD calcs are doing. And so this is the thing that made me go, all right, I'm going to join this company, because this is the revolution that is going to democratize data for the masses.
Yeah, that is amazing. It's like LODs in 2 clicks.
Yes.
Which,
very cool, and good to see you so excited about it. We should get some separate time to talk about our Tableau journeys.
Yes. Yes, we should. Maybe not in this forum.
Yeah, exactly. Probably not, and maybe with alcohol involved.
Maybe with alcohol involved. Yeah, I think it's more our Salesforce journey, isn't it, Wendy?
Yeah.
That was amazing. That took me back to one of your first presentations in LODs. I have to say, I was starting in data and analytics. I came out of that room thinking, oh my God, my head just exploded. But everyone was kind of, when we were talking, saying, oh, I miss Bethany Lyons' presentations. Here you are, guys. Bethany Lyons today with Tableau and with the Kawa Analytics.
That's right. Thank you. Sorry for being on pause for about 2 years there. It was a hard time.
Yeah, there was a lot of conversations. Where is Bethany? We didn't hear anything from Bethany. That was quite irregular. But
finding myself.
I'll keep the questions also to the end, Bethany. And we'll ask the audience, if you have questions, please use the chat. And we are happy to say that Julie is here. She managed to join. Yay.
16. I'm sorry for that.
Not to worry. I will just give a small introduction and then the floor is all yours. Okay, Julie. So Julie Brunette, who is the Artistic Director at Dataset Home, and independent data and information designer committed to making information accessible through design and storytelling. She works with other data agencies such as We Do Data, institutions like OECD, and also with media like Le Monde, L'Express, and Live magazine. Additionally, she is also the creative director of Nightingale, the Journal of Data Visualization Society. So, Julie, the floor is all yours.
Thanks a lot, Lisa. I'm just gonna shut down my camera so I can show you my presentation without it lagging and everything. Here, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Thanks. And let me quickly share my screen because so it won't be about Tableau, but I thought I could compensate with a presentation because that's more my what I do. So let me share my screen, and if you can tell me if it works.
Yeah, we can see your screen.
Okay, thanks, amazing. So thanks a lot for having me today on this special day to talk about changing career. I think it's a particularly appropriate subject given that I changed of career a couple of years ago, and if I wouldn't be here with you this evening if I didn't. And I actually changed. Sorry. Yes, okay. I actually changed of career twice. I was a French teacher for a small number of years. I have a literary background. My primary education was literature. And then I became a graphic designer and was an art director in a creative agency here in Paris for 5 years. And then I changed again and started working in data design and data journalism as an independent, as you said. And it's been a couple of years, so maybe I should start to wonder what I'm going to do next. And though I did change our career twice, I was terrified every time. I was almost petrified by fear of the unknown, fear of not making it, fear of regret. But I still did it. And now that it's been a couple of years, I can tell you that my degree of happiness and fulfillment, is every time went through the roof. And today I like to reflect back on those fears that almost prevented me from doing it. And I think that a lot of people experience. And I think the two main issues people fear are starting from scratch without any previous skills and finding yourself all alone in this, like a gladiator, an arm in a new unknown arena. And I would like to debunk these two fears because I don't think they have much ground in reality, especially in data visualization. And first of all, I think it's actually never possible to start from scratch in life. Whatever you do as you move forward in life, you inevitably carry with you all your previous experience, and they're bound to take a part in what you're going to do next. So you can't start from zero in work. And I mean, you have all these years of experience that will still be there and still apply to a different field. And furthermore, because data visualization is this mixture of so many fields and skills and knowledge, I think it's almost not possible to come from a background that could not apply to data visualization. Like if you have a background in science or in design or in coding or in engineering, even in architecture, like we see with George Alupi, you'll find something that will resonate and be useful applied to data visualization. And I think sometimes you don't even know before you start this. And that's what happened to me. I have so this literary background and a pedagogical background and design background. And I actually was much later than I realized that data visualization was actually the perfect crossroads between all those roads paths that I took. And all those skill set that I accumulated. And I kind of just found myself in this happy place where all my skills just fold into places like a jigsaw. And it was really an exhilarated feelings. And because everything I kind of experienced fit in this new job, I also find myself in it too. And I was surprised how actually not alone I find myself in this new playground. And actually, I met some of the most amazing people I know and some of the closest friends I have now in data visualization. And I think everyone will agree that the DataVis community, and especially the Tableau one, I guess, is amazingly welcoming and one you don't struggle a lot to feel connected with. And I think community is a huge part of changing career. And I think it helped me tremendously back then to adjust to my new job. And actually it still does every day. And that's why I'm part of a collective I founded with other data designer a couple of years ago that is called the Data Suffragettes. And I've been asked to talk about it quickly tonight because I believe that, yes, finding or building your community is the most precious things you can do to help you in this maybe new journey that you start. And I think I'm going to go a little bit quickly because we still want time for the question. But basically, so we are 5 women all around the world, and the main goal, I think, of the Data Suffragette is to promote women as actors, but also as subjects of data and data visualization. And I guess that's where we meet with Data Plus Women. And we're actually a little bit from all around the world, all different countries, and we also have all different jobs and all different skill sets. And I think this is why it's so amazing to collaborate together, because everyone brings something different to the table. And the principle of the collective actually is dual, I would say. We have some kind of internal life, and that's why we started at the beginning. And the idea was really to support each other and share a lot and mutualize resources and everything. And with time, we also start to have a more external life, I would say, like taking part to talks and events, collab projects, and promote other people's work, other women's work, or each other works. And I think that really finding this community that you create is really what's going to take you to the next step. And there's a lot of ways to find those community. And I guess like this this event tonight is just one of them. And I would like to thank you all again.
Thank you so much, Julie. That was really impressive. The suffragettes, for who doesn't know, please just Google it. It's really interesting projects and to support women. But I know that now is the part of the questions. Are we ready, ladies?
Can I ask a question? Julia, can you share the link to the suffragettes just for those of us?
Yes, of course. Yeah, you're right. You're absolutely right. Thanks.
Perfect. So Rachel, you had one question for Wendy, didn't you? Where's Rachel?
Here, I'm sharing the data suffragettes in the chat.
Thank you.
But yeah, I think that, well, first of all, thanks for everyone that already did the short presentations. And I was telling Nisa here in the background that the short presentation of Wendy was quite short. And Wendy, I know that you've been quite involved, especially telling leadership that they have a very important position in moments like this one that we're having, unfortunately, since last year, and that it seems that it never ends, right? And I'm talking about the layoffs. I think that everyone knows about it. It became a hot topic in the tech world. We had a lot of the big companies. I guess that at this moment, if we have data, all the big companies have done it. And I'd like you wanted to share a little bit about it, because first of all, it's a courageous position, I think, to bring it to the leadership, that there is something that people can do. And I'd like you to explain a little bit to everyone your position and how you think that people can contribute in moments like this one, that can be a bit of a lemon, right? Since we're talking about lemons today.
Yeah, no, thank you so much for the setup. I wasn't sure how we were opening, so I thought we were going to get more into the lemons later. But yeah, I think that there's probably not anyone that's here or going to be listening to this later that is not aware of the layoffs that have been happening in the tech industry, right? Which I think as data people, you can look at and be like, it's really interesting. As why are companies finding that they didn't understand the micro economics that were happening? Like, what were the data points missed associated with that as a data person? But also on top of that, I think this really kind of follows with what Julie was saying. I'm a huge fan of communities. And communities can be both intrinsic and extrinsic, right? You can have communities throughout your company. You can have communities in your industry or in the tech world or across the world for various reasons. And when, as mentioned with Bethany, the journey that I've had from Salesforce to Tableau has been quite interesting. So much so that even though I started a lot of the enterprise data functions at Salesforce, moving to Tableau being an acquisition, and actually, acquisitions not being a position of power, ended up costing me my role as CDO of Tableau because they eventually pushed out most of the Tableau leadership or exited, right? Changes in strategy for the company, etc. So I've been very much focused the last 5 months on how do I turn my lemons into lemonades? What is my future going forward, etc. But when the Salesforce 10% layoff happened on January 8th, I kind of sprung into action. And it wasn't an action about me, it was action about the people on my team. I had 2 major teams at Salesforce. I had the enterprise data management, data strategy team. And then I had the Tableau CDO group as well. Both teams had hits with layoffs, right? So my first thought was I need to help the people who used to report to me to basically feel some type of normalcy. Because I don't know how many of you have gone through a layoff in the past. This isn't my first rodeo. I have gone through this in the past. And what tends to happen is that your entire day-to-day of what you're used to as a norm changes, right? You'll have a couple of weeks of normalcy where people are reaching out to you, maybe you're transitioning or handing off, etc. But how you talk to people on a daily basis, meaning Slack or Zooms or whatever, the projects that you had invested in, sometimes long multi-year strategies and commitments and excitement, and your energy shifts, the relationships with people that you have on a day-to-day basis changes as well, right? Even close friends, right? And all of us make a lot of friends. It's not just co-workers. We make friends and family with the people that we work with. So my first thought was my work family, right? How do I help the people that I need to help that were explicitly working for me? I have a big title, which means I can open a lot of doors easier than others for people. And I know how to network. And being networking for the last couple of months around my own role for the future meant that I can connect people really quickly with companies I knew were hiring. So on January 8th, I launched a Slack community called the Salesforce Layoffs. I think that within 3 weeks, we had almost 2,000 people in that Slack community. And it wasn't just Salesforce, it was people across tech, because all of tech was basically doing these layoffs. And now we're up to almost 5,000 people. So this is Microsoft, Amazon, Twitter, Netflix, Salesforce, you name it. And what we've done in there is we've created community. Okay, we are crowdsourcing jobs. We are crowdsourcing referrals. We have trainers that are in there that are helping people with resumes, with how do you cold reach. How do you actually use the keyword searches when it comes to things like LinkedIn, et cetera, to make sure that your resume stands out? What type of certificates may you want, right, for specific role sets? If you're thinking about even changing your specific kind of area of expertise into something new, we're pairing people up, okay? We've got companies that are hiring, coming in and doing open houses. So what I really found is that it's an opportunity, right? It's an opportunity, to create community and help people feel normalcy, even though their day life with their way they're communicating has gone away. They still have that normal way that they engage each other, where they're helping each other in a different way. And there's been new lifelong relationships that have come out of this. People who didn't work together, who are now like, I wish I knew you, who are jumping on calls and, getting happy hours. We've got areas or countries where people are getting together. But more importantly, what I really thought about this is that it really shows how antiquated the process is to find new jobs, right? If you also go and looked at things like LinkedIn, or I don't know who still uses Monster, but Monster or whatever, It's up to you as an individual to go and search per company, per role, to submit a resume per each requirement, versus like, how do we actually funnel recruiters into pools of talent, right? How do we actually change the process so that you can actually search or submit to multiple things at a time, right? Especially within a company. How do we when talent is actually so short, even though there's layoffs, people are still getting jobs, and they may not be getting jobs at some of the biggest companies, and maybe more smaller or public, but there's still tons of work. But it's about, how do you find it, right? How do you find it? How do you up level yourself? So again, by crowdsourcing, building community, etc., we're helping one another to be more sticky in this time of need. Okay. The other thing that's come out of this, which is really interesting, is I think within the first week, I said something around, I'm kind of tired. I don't know about you guys, but I get really tired of working for the really big companies who make billions of dollars off of my ideas. Like for me, for example, at Salesforce, I was a partner heavily with Salesforce Ventures, and I would vet all of our investments when it came to data technology. Okay. And I can give you a list of companies that are now unicorns that have basically taken my ideas or even my wireframes for things I've built in the past at other companies, et cetera, and have now made unicorn status. And so I had said something about like, hey, maybe we should start a startup. All of us are getting paid time to look for other jobs. What if we all donated time to basically, get some startup MVPs up and out? And so we're actually launching our first pitch day here in probably April. I'm still coordinating the date, but we have about 25 people with different ideas, including myself on a couple ideas that I'm going to be pitching, where we've actually brought in angel investors and VCs as well. And we're trying to help people get connected and do something new. Right? We're being innovative, and we're utilizing each other to do so. And I think there will be some amazing opportunities and some amazing ideas that come out. So that's kind of what's happening. If you guys are interested in joining the community, I will post it. I'll add in basically a link to our QR code to the community. If you're working for a company that's hiring, add your recruiters in, add hiring managers in. I mean, people are hungry for jobs, and this is some of the best talent in the industry across different tech companies. So, love to have your help.
Thanks. If you could share, Wendy, please. And just one question, because you mentioned the pitch day in April. Just for everyone that is following, this one is presential, right? It's not virtual, correct? It's in the US.
It's gonna be virtual. So,
Okay.
but what we've done is, if you have an interest in that, join the community. Within the community, there's a private channel for those who are interested in the startup. We've got people who already have startups that just need bodies, like people who want to donate pro bono time to help. We've got people who want to pitch ideas. We've got people who want to help. And we have people who want to invest. Okay. And that's kind of the 4 groups of people that are all in the private channel. So if you have an interest, join and reach out to me, and I'm happy to include you to be a part of Pitch Day. This is all new. I mean, we've gone from 0 to 5,000, over 5,000 people in a little over 2 months.
I'm seeing here that there are a lot of people asking about how to get in. So if you could share.
I'll try to post a picture in the chat. If not, I'll post it on LinkedIn as a link inside of the of this session's kind of reference this morning.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And if you can share with us, we normally send an email as a wrap up of the event.
I will send to you guys as well. I'll shoot you an email. I think these are a lot of relationships that there's people that have already found jobs who are staying in the community just to help others, or just to vent or share, or just to, it's an outlet to a degree as well, and not a bad one. Like it's actually a good outlet where people are helping one another kind of reach their next objectives, or building those deep relationships on the side as well, coming out of the same background. So back to you, Bethany. There's a lot of Tableau folks in there that we all feel like we need to go have some drinks. So
Yeah. Let's do it.
So now I have a question for Bethany. on my question, it says if you could go back 20 years, but we are also young. 20 years will be children, so we won't be going 20 years. But if you could go back and talk to yourself, what would you say? What advice would you give?
To my 14-year-old self. Can I think about it for 2 minutes? And
of course.
yeah, I want to give a good answer. I haven't thought about it in a while what I would say to my younger self. So yeah, it's I don't know if you want to move on to Julie and come back, if that's okay.
Yeah, can be.
Okay.
We can do that. So for Julie then, what type of what you set yourself this year as learning objective? Do you have anything that you want to develop this year? Any new opportunities?
Yeah, what I like to do every time is try to balance between hard skill and soft skill. So I think, for instance, like a big dream that I have would be to learn how to code, because I don't, and I find it like so empowering to know how to code. And I would say especially as a woman, because there are less women that code than men, and that's an issue. So I would like to be one of those badass women that can code, but I must say I'm a little bit afraid of it. So every year I said, this year is the one I will know how to code. I mean, I did some data camp, so I know Python and SQL and those kind of things, but I'm really a baby. And as a soft skill, I would like to do a little bit more of copy editing and data journalism things, to have kind of the both thing, like design and wording. And what is really great is actually right now I'm working on my first really client project when they also ask me to do the copy editing, the wording and everything. So I was a little bit afraid to accept at the beginning, but then I was like, no, I'm going to do it. Yeah. And I also like to work more on my personal project, because I don't have time for it anymore, and I think that's a pity, because it's how I started. So I should still do it. So I don't know if that's enough time, Bethany, for you to have like a smart answer.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
I don't know if it's a smart answer, but it's an honest answer.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, or Julie, I want to call you Julia. I don't know what. Julie, we should learn to code together. That's one of my things as well. I've spent. I never code anymore. I never write SQL anymore. My thing is always like vision, bringing communities together, solving business strategy problems, like process automation types of things. The Bethanies of the world get really deep into the data, and I'm like, but what if that data is not good? You just built all these things on top and it was junk. You know what I mean? Like, I'm more about the data management and the other stuff. But learning to code is a big thing for me too, because I need to amp up my skills. It's been a while.
Do you know which language you'd like to learn?
I'd like to learn C, I think, for one thing, but I need to get into Python. That's been an area that I've managed data science teams and AI teams for years. So again, I'm more of the vision of what things should look like and how people can work with it versus, the build of it explicitly. But, I want to pick up Python is one area I want to pick up.
Okay. And there is someone in the chat saying that nowadays we need
to do
ChatGPT instead of learning to code.
I know.
But back to Bethany.
Yes, back to me. All right.
Do you have an answer to your question to your younger?
Yeah, I don't know if it's super inspiring, but it's the truth. So I'll say it. I would tell myself that the most important thing that I could possibly do in my life is build trust with other people. Like, trust is everything. It's how you move forward in life. And I did not understand this well enough when I was younger. And I think I burned a lot of bridges. And I think I stayed stuck as a senior PM at Tableau because I didn't understand this enough. I didn't internalize it. I didn't think about, like, how is my behavior going to impact the way that people trust me? So that's what I would tell my former self.
I love that. It goes with that community and networking piece, right? As well. If people don't believe in you for your skill sets, but more importantly, trust you with themselves or with your goal or with your collaboration, you could have all the skills in the world, but no one wants to work with you. You know what I mean? I mean, they go hand in hand.
Mm-hmm. It's like creating a safe space for other people, right? Which means sometimes shut up and don't just try to be right.
Yeah. I've always had that problem too. When I was a kid, and I still do, I'm a really, how do you want to say this? I'm a competitive person naturally. Like I'm a naturally competitive person. And so I want to win. And sometimes winning is being quiet. Winning is letting other people struggle and come up with the answers themselves, even if you already know it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
And guiding them there. That was one of the best pieces of I guess, advice that a mentor gave me years and years ago was, you don't have to be the right person in the room every time. Let people get to it themselves.
It's an amazing advice for younger people, right? Because especially teenage years, you wouldn't.
Especially as women, I don't know if this is, I think we all know this, right? Really smart, dominant, successful women scare a lot of people, right? As men especially. So again, sometimes it's more advantageous to be quiet and be behind the scenes glue, right? Building those relationships and building that trust instead of being like in your face around it, and especially publicly, or in big meetings, etc. It behooves you sometimes to do that on the side, or use trust circles. I use concentric circles. I said, I'm a big networker. I was at Microsoft for 10 years, and I'm sure maybe, hopefully you guys have all had, or maybe you've heard things from people who worked at Microsoft. It used to be known as a real dog eat dog world, right? Very, very political. There's even a diagram of big tech cultures. And the one for Microsoft cracks me up because it's like little organization structures pointing guns at each other. And I'm like, it was way worse than that when I was there, because within the orgs, guns were pointing at each other as well, And so, I learned really quickly there that being right wasn't making me more successful or moving my career. It was more about how could I actually move people, and that became more to soft skill sets behind the scenes and creating relationships of people who influence people, back to the concentric circles that Julia was driving. And if there was someone who wasn't kind of in line with a strategy or an objective, who can I actually get to that influences them? And if it didn't come from me, who can I actually get, to mimic that message, right? To move them. Sometimes it took years, but it was a approach that drove my career trajectory versus me actually battling with them or being in your face with them in regards to, well, this is the right thing and this is just what's going to happen. So it took a long time. And 20 years ago, I would have been 30. So I need to go back another 15 years on top of that to tell myself that, but it took me a long time to figure it out.
Even in leadership, they say that listen twice and speak once, right? Mm-hmm. And it's exactly what we are saying. So Rachel, you have one last question. The time is just flying by.
We can combine maybe that, because there are two questions that are similar from people in the audience, and it's a very interesting one, that is how to stay relevant. So tips for how to stay relevant, especially in the field of data. So in terms of knowledge, how to sharp your knowledge and make sure that you're not being left behind. We have kind of different people asking kind of the same thing. So if anyone would like to take this, Bethany.
Yeah. I'm happy to take this. So I've just shown you an example of how a tool can basically make a prior tool no longer a relevant skill. And So I would say, don't tie your career up in technology, because the technology is always going to evolve. I would try to tie your career up in having an impact on the business. So if you can, as an analyst, say like, so when I worked at Muse, for example, I did a lot of analytics work there, and I found this massive opportunity where I can't say the amount, I need to filter myself right now, but I found a very large amount of money on the platform in invoices that were not being paid by corporate clients to the hotels. And so it was obvious that we should be building like an accounts receivable module to help the customers with their debt collection. So being able to say like concretely, like, this is a finding that I had, and this is the decision the company made as a result, and this is the impact it had on the bottom line, is the best way to stay relevant, because that's always going to matter, no matter what happens to the underlying technology that you use.
Agree.
Changes, right? That's the lovely
Yeah.
thing about what we do and what we work in. Technology is just a tool, right? It's always about the business impact.
And sometimes we get too obsessed about the technology, right? And we forget that there is everything else involved. And that's usually what makes us relevant. Otherwise, ChatGPT will come for us, as someone said here at some point. And I don't know, Julie, would like to also, because I think that one of the questions came while you were talking. So if you have any tip for the people, for the audience, in terms of things that you think that can be relevant, especially because you've changed it several times.
I would agree that to not rely too much on tools and software and hard skills, because I think they stay attached to one field. And when you work on your soft skills, you can actually apply them to everything. So I think that's a real strength. And yeah, I think we tend to get obsessed by tool, as you said, and we have this weird approach when we want to learn the tool, or we have to choose the tool before we know what we actually want to do. And I think it's a really weird approach, because like in real life, no one just finds himself with a hammer in his hand and said, oh, I'm just gonna, put a frame on the wall. Like the other way around, you want to put something on the wall, so you will find yourself a hammer. So yeah, I think you really need to focus on what you actually want to do, what you want to achieve, like Bethany said, like what the impact, for instance, and then you're gonna choose the tools. But it's just a commodity, like it shouldn't be the major point of focus. I think you need to more have a vision of what you'd like to do, and honestly, yeah, the kind of impact you want to have on other people, on society, I don't know. And then you can, I think, navigate the best. And yeah, I would say that's my vision.
Thanks, Julie. And I will put the last question here. We're out of time, and I know that this question, we could have a full session about it, but it's because someone sent here, and it's an interesting one. So if anyone would like to answer, you're all welcome, but it's about gender stereotyping in the workplace and how you deal with it when you have obstacles that are there just because someone look at you and think, she's a lady. She's not the technical person in the table, or she's not the director in the table, or whatever type of things that people will think just because of the gender. So if anyone would like to take on this, our last question.
Yeah, I have thoughts on this. So what I've actually found is that the harder thing to overcome than being a woman is being young. And I'm no longer young, but I once was. And when I joined Tableau, I was the youngest person in Europe. I was like 23 at the time, I think. And I stayed 23 in everybody's minds. And I didn't realize this. It took somebody else who came into the business like 8 years later to be like, Bethany, people view you like you're 23 because that's how young you were when they met you. And, you've grown a lot, but their perception of you hasn't grown with you. And his advice to me was, he's like, I've seen it before in other companies where you probably just need to quit your job and go work somewhere else where you join as a proper grown adult, because people can't overcome this perception of you as like an intern. And that was part of the reason I left Tableau, is I realized he was right. I was perceived very much as like a 23-year-old in a 32-year-old body.
That's a good point.
I'm happy to add some tips, etc. I think stereotypes are unfortunately a part of being human, right? I think that there's what's the term now that we do a lot of training on, unconscious bias, right? That happens. Even people that don't realize that they have stereotypes. What I tend to do is I'm a very dominant, strong, intelligent woman. I've got 4 daughters. My husband's been a stay-at-home dad for 17 years. So kind of I break a lot of the stereotypes comes to, you know, being a successful woman, etc. And what I try to do is I try to lead by example, meaning when I see behaviors or I see unconscious stereotypes happening, I call it out. And I use humor often to try to break it, right? I don't want to make someone feel uncomfortable, but I want to, you know, I identify that there was something said or a problem, and then I want to kind of do something to cause a course correction, right? Whether that's in the moment or whether that's after the moment. I know that when I first started my career, you know, my career has been very strange, a strange story. You know, I had a Russian history degree. I didn't come out of STEM. I got recruited right out of college to work at a tech company who had a software that they had sold to other tech companies to be a tech writer, because that's how I was kind of positioning myself with a history degree. And within a year, I was, that first year, I was basically like auditing. It was my first exposure to data. This was so long ago. This was on a mainframe. Wrote their first data warehouse, which was really, really new at the time. And, you know, within a year, I was recruited over to engineering because I could explain the business processes and what the business was doing. And the engineers didn't understand from the technical aspects of the system to the actual user experience. And so, you know, I use that as an example to basically identify what my superpowers are and to use those throughout my career as a way to kind of adjust the thought process around women, meaning I'm a very strong communicator. I'm a very strong networker. I'm a very strong vision person. I can take technical components and I can break them down into impact. I can drive change. And so the people that are often my worst naysayers, I guess, or people who don't believe in the skill sets are where I spend the most time trying to help them achieve the things that they want to achieve so that they can learn that their bias was wrong, right? In some way or another, by using the superpowers that we all have. We all have different powers, right? And whether you're a man or woman is irrelevant. We all have superpowers. And the more that you can help and invest in others to do the things that they need to and they achieve and that they want to impact, the more that they'll look at people differently and start to realize those superpowers, right? That everybody has them. And that's where I try to focus.
That's I think that a wonderful way to do it, right? To valorize and to put first the things that we're good at. We won't have time to talk about it today, but one of the questions that we had was about imposter syndrome. I can say that I've never got trapped about it. I've done it several times. That is this thing, you know, I got trapped in the things that I don't know how to do instead of go into the ones that I know how. And I see that a lot of my female colleagues, they do the same. And sometimes we joke like, oh, sometimes I just would like to have the confidence of a guy, you know. They're so bad on this.
Man thing, right? I mean, there's confident men and women. I think that women often, I do think that women often question themselves more often because they're afraid that they may not come off well, right? I know I did when I was first recruited to engineering. I was terrified. My first husband, I've been married twice, but my first husband was a developer, and we were right out of college. And I remember taking one programming class in college, and I hated it. I despised it. I dropped it. In fact, I think I flunked my first test and said, forget this. I hate this crap. And then that's been my whole career. So it's kind of funny. There's been all these like, Wendy, we want you for this. I'm like, I can't do that. I don't know that. Like, that's not what I do. And then I found out that's like, but it is like, you can learn anything. You can learn anything, you know? And then what are you adding to it based on what you're bringing to the table, you know? So don't undersell yourself.
Yeah,
I would
that's
just
a good
say
message.
a very last point on that. So Annabelle has asked me to join this panel so many times, and I kept saying no to her, and it wasn't because I didn't want to do it. It was because I was afraid and I didn't feel like I belonged on this panel. And I was like, I don't have anything interesting to say, like, no. And it was really because I went through a period of a few years where my confidence was just shot to hell. And I would say the advice I would give anyone is, if your job is hurting your confidence, if you can afford to quit, just quit. If you have the financial means to do so, because that was honestly the best thing I did for my career, was be unemployed for a period of time. I never got more job offers in my life than when I was unemployed. And it was because I was able to rebuild my confidence outside the context of like an oppressive organization. And that's why people wanted to hire me, not because of my employer's name or my existing job or anything like that. So never be afraid to venture out on your own and have open to work on your profile. Do things that protect your confidence, because it takes years and years to build, and it can take one incident to demolish.
No, I think that we can summarize our day here with believing in ourselves, right? Taking the opportunities that we have. We started talking about community. We had also a lot of talk about reinventing ourselves, trying new things. I think that a lot of super interesting conversations that we had. Unfortunately, we are out of time. I could stay here for another half an hour, 1 hour. We still having questions, so I'd like to really thanks all the panelists, thanks everyone in the audience for taking part. And just before closing the call, there is an event, Data Plus Women also. So if anyone would like to take part, this one is 15th of March. And the topic is improve self-confidence. It's organized by Annabelle. I didn't pay attention in the topic, but now that I'm seeing that it connects to the end of our session here. So if anyone would like to carry on in the conversation, good opportunity. It's in 1 week. And thanks everyone for taking part. I think that it was an amazing conversation. Very good to have you all here. I think that you brought very interesting topics, experience, and everything. And for everyone that was following, thanks also for taking part. And with this, I'd like to wish everyone a good evening / afternoon / morning.
Thank you guys for having us. We appreciate it. And happy International Women's Day, everyone.
Yeah, thanks a lot. Happy Women's
Happy Women's Day. Bye-bye.
Happy
Happy Women's Day. Bye-bye.
Bye.